All right, here we go. All right. The bell has rung. The market's open. Are we ready to do this?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Let's start off. A little now. You guys have all watched CNBC and they show the big board, right? They show the big board and they flash red or green. A little bit of red out in those streets. There's a little bit of bloody water out there. When you look at some of the guys I was holding, wasn't a great week. Drake May, costly interception at the end of the game. Michael Penix, now no longer the favorite for the Heisman Trophy. He's dropped to plus 250 out there on the Heisman odds. Quinn Ewers. So that was going to be my first sell was Quinn Ewers, but the stock is halted due to the unknown nature of the injury. So I can't make a trade. I'm kind of stuck with him. So that's what I'm going to do there. I'm stuck with my Quinn Ewers stock, so I'll just hold on to that one. Dylan Gabriel's kind of a soft, like it's kind of like a hold. Like I'm just going to hold it. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to panic there. And then Jaden Daniels, I might even dabble and buy some more after a strong performance. 4 total touchdowns versus Army. They got the bye. Then they got Bama. Let's go. I'll add a little bit of Jaden Daniels to that stock. All right. So who am I buying then? Because we got to add to this portfolio. We got to expand things, make sure we're setting ourselves up nice. Tom has been all over it. I'm going to get some J.J. McCarthy. Give me some J.J. McCarthy, who is now the leader for the Heisman Trophy, according to most books that are out there. Another strong performance. He continues to get better and better. This one to me is what you call a breakout play. Because a lot of times you don't want to chase a stock and it'll hit this certain level. Like maybe it's $100 or $200. It's like this even number that just you can't get through the ceiling. I think it's taken off. I don't think you're going to see it come back. Like there's not going to be a dip to buy. So just buy it on the breakout on the back end of the season. J.J. McCarthy, I am buying that up because this Michigan team looks like an unstoppable force. I know they haven't played anybody. It doesn't matter. He's continuing to build up that confidence. Penn State on the road left, and, of course, Ohio State at home. I'm buying up J.J. McCarthy. I'm becoming a believer, and so is Jim Harbaugh. So I will buy that one up. I asked you guys, can I diversify? Do I have to stay in the quarterback market, or can I dabble in some other exchanges? And you guys said, go ahead and do it. So you guys said his name already on this podcast. I'm going to go ahead and buy up. I was going to say Alan Bowman, because I was just going to stick to the QBs, but give me Ollie Gordon. Give me Oklahoma State. They are getting right at the right time. They also have that little game Bedlam coming up where you could all of a sudden see, Oklahoma, who looked very vulnerable this weekend, find themselves in the last time of this rivalry facing an Oklahoma State team who we are very clear Mike Gundy was not thrilled that Oklahoma left the conference. That could set up for some fireworks out on the exchange for sure. So give me some Ollie Gordon coming off 282 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. All right. Jordan, give me a little help here with my next buy.
Pork belly prices have been dropping all morning, which means everybody's sitting in their office and they're waiting for them to hit rock bottom so they can buy cheap and go long.
All right, so you might be asking, why are we talking pork bellies out here on a college football podcast? Because I want to buy up some Bryson Barnes, quarterback of Utah. That's right. Son of a pig farmer is out there just dropping dimes since he's been given the reins. And with the news now that Cam Rising, I hate to see it, but at least Kyle Whittingham is no longer under investigation from the SEC for withholding information. He's given us all of it. Now we know that Cam Rising is shut down for the year. I will buy up some Bryson Barnes, who had his best game. He also had the rushing touchdown. They're not afraid to start using his legs a little bit more, much like we saw with Cam Rising. And I look at this Utah team and I say, why not? Why can't they? Because everyone's always told them how they can't. It's their quarterback. They lose guys on defense every single time they are in the Pac-12 race. So I say, why not give them a chance for the three-peat? So let me buy up some Bryson Barnes out there. How are we feeling so far? As I catch a breath.
I loved Kyle Whittingham's quote after the game when he was saying, they've got a Heisman winner, we've got a pig farmer, and I'll take ours.
Right. That's where it came from. Right there. He's got something.
Do you think that Utah, like if you were to buy, are you buying stock in Utah as well? Like if it were just, okay.
For sure. How can you not? Right. I mean, again, it's kind of one of those that may be ugly. It may not look the best. It might not be this high flying stock that everybody's buying, but it's a value play. That's what it is.
It's a dangerous one-loss team that's ready to, it's got like tire irons behind its back, ready to cause some real problems.
Yeah. So I mentioned JJ McCarthy, who's this breakout play in a stock that just feels like, man, it can't go much higher. And then you regret that you didn't buy it at 100 because it's trading at 400. That reminds me of Apple. But you know what else happened at Apple? Early, when they were struggling with the Lucy computer, the board had a little meeting. They didn't like the direction that Steve Jobs was taking the program. So they ousted him. They said, you know what? We're getting out of here. It's a sexy stock. It always has been. You know what else is? USC. I already sold my Caleb Williams. I mean, the CEO of USC is Lincoln Riley. I'm selling Lincoln Riley. Now, I'm not saying to fire him, but he has to show me that he can meet the physicality of other teams. Because guess what? The physical teams that he's played against look a whole lot more like the teams he's going to face in the Big Ten than what he faced at the Big 12. The all offense, little defense might have worked in the Big 12 in a league where everybody had shootouts and he kind of got used to that, and he was able to outscore other teams. Once he goes to the Big 10 and the remainder of this season, I think that is very much in doubt. So the shareholders have voted. We've met with the board. I'm moving on from Lincoln Riley as the face of USC for now, because I think he's got to prove to me and others that he can handle that title.
We took a lot of heat 2 weeks ago for saying, like, I bet the stories will start coming out about like what goes on there. Because I don't like jumping on like the coddled and soft narrative, but a lot of stuff adds up, man. Like suspending that young reporter, and then you don't make any players available after the game, and then you just look soft as hell in back-to-back games for the first two real teams you play this year. I mean, with all due respect to Arizona, like the first two teams that recruit anywhere near how you recruit, they push you around physically, and you look disorganized on both sides of the ball now. Like, I'll ask again, like, is stuff going on there or not going on there? Like, maybe stuff that should be happening is not happening, but they look soft and disorganized.
They have played 4 defenses that are allowing fewer than 350 yards per game. They lost to Notre Dame, they lost to Utah, and they struggled to beat Arizona and Arizona State. They're a team that when you punch them in the mouth, they don't really punch back.
2 thoughts. Number one, Ryan Abraham of USCfootball.com, 24/7 Sports Network, is one of my most trusted resources and sources on USC football. He's been on the beat for more than 15 years, maybe even longer than that. He said he has never seen a situation where the players were not made available after the post game the way that they were after the Utah loss. The second thing is, from a narrative and conversation standpoint, it would not be hilarious, but it would be interesting if Oklahoma's going to the SEC. Lincoln Riley goes to the Pac-12. USC's going to the Big Ten. Oh, I'm going to go to the NFL now.
Guess what? You can't just run plays there either. You're going to have to actually play defense and special teams.
So I put out there that I think that's going to be a conversation. I didn't realize that analysts that cover college football were suggesting that he does that. Mm-hmm. Emmanuel Acho actually put out in the universe that he, like, out loud, he had that thought that, he should just hang it up. Like, I
Caleb,
thought it was going to be sort of more hot take artists, like, just guys that never played in college would say that, because there's a major difference in what we're dealing with now than even just 5 years ago. And it was like, they're exploited. He's making massive money. Like, I think it would absolutely hurt his draft stock if he did shut it down this early. The bowl, I don't think anybody will have a problem with. That's been proven. But shutting it down before the season ends, I think is a really bad look. Go ahead.
If he's going to do it, just fake an injury. There are already guys this year who are like, who did get a little hurt early in the year, and they're not coming back, right? Like, I'm not going to dive them out because I don't have it official, but like guys I trust tell me this guy's not that hurt, and like some of the best players in the sport, and he's off training in Dallas during the week. Like, he'll be on the sideline, not in pads during the game, but he's not actually with us right now with the team. Like, I bet you there's guys who are dinged who just won't come back. The problem is, if you're not visibly hurt, then people are going to call you a quitter, right? And you're the quarterback, so they're going to see it. But this is already happening. It also happened during the COVID season. It definitely happened last year with some of the better players in the sport who were not hurt. Like, the team definitely didn't think they were very hurt. So, yeah, man, but if you're not hurt, it's like your image is going to take a hit.
So there is risk in selling and having the board oust Steve Jobs, because if you remember, Steve Jobs came back to a hero's return when he came out with the iPhone. So if he can find the right pairing, a defensive coordinator, they've tried. They went out and got Bear Alexander. Maybe with their money, they can go out and buy a defense. But I do think some of it stems from an offensive-minded coach. Mentality becomes a big thing, and you take on the personality of your head coach, and for whatever reason, it's not there. So I'll take that risk and sell it right now. Couple other ones. So I do think that Caleb Williams, if you look up his numbers versus, the better defenses, I think it was top 25 defenses, but I saw the numbers were pretty alarming at who he's played against. I do think it is time to open up the debate for QB1 in the NFL draft. And I put that out there and some people were upset by it. Once you see the NFL scouts come looking and they're looking for a reason to knock you, they can find them on Caleb Williams. And not just the off the field stuff. Bud mentioned it. I noticed it watching film. There's a lot more off the cuff stuff, a lot more sort of, you go back, maybe the first read isn't there. You start scrambling around. I noticed that a ton with Johnny Manziel when he was at A&M. It's one of the reasons I didn't like him at the next level. And I'm not saying at all that Caleb Williams is the next Manziel, but there's too much off script going on. He needs to start playing within the system, getting through his progressions. And so I also have another sell here, but this is sort of like, you guys heard of Berkshire Hathaway, right? William Buffett's company. So he has Class A, he has Class B. So he has different stocks within the same company. So my Heisman Drake May stock, I am selling, but the Drake May is the potential overall number one NFL pick. I am buying that one up now when it's banged up a little bit. He didn't play great. The interception was not on him. He got absolutely drilled at the end of the game. But I think Drake May is going to push Caleb Williams in that conversation for the number one overall pick in the draft.
Totally. Because I went back and watched more of that UNC Virginia. Man, Drake May needs to be pissed at some of those receiver drops.
Mm-hmm.
His PFF grade, I saw the graph this morning. I think he had the highest PFF grade of any quarterback in the country this weekend, which is nuts because the numbers definitely don't show it. I could be wrong, but he's way, way up at the top of the graph. I haven't pulled, maybe he's off fractionally, but here's the other problem though with knocking Caleb this far. A, maybe May takes over him. B, one of the reasons that Mahomes got knocked at Texas Tech is because he was playing like he had to do every damn thing and that they had to score 60 to win. Mm-hmm. If you apply that same lens to Caleb, I think that's correct. USC doesn't really have much of a run game right now, and they're not blocking. So, yes, he is developing some bad habits in terms of trying to just scramble around and hit the home run every play. Also, kind of weirdly here, he has to basically be the guy. If you take Caleb Williams off this team, USC would not make a bowl. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. They can't run. They can't
plus 2.5
block.
wins for them, I would think. So, yeah. I don't know. I will say on the buy point of McCarthy, last year, I thought McCarthy in the drop back game was way worse than he was with the play action stuff. This year, he's actually, and I know the competition's awful and everybody is playing run against them, but he's second in the country in quarterback rating without play action. It's a noticeable change for McCarthy in the right direction. And one of the reasons why I think Michigan's the best team in the country.
Fired. There was the one dart he threw, standing in the pocket, just threw 3 or 4 defenders, just great anticipation, great throw. As far as the NFL draft stock for both of them, I still think I think there's been debate between them from in NFL draft circles the entire time. I think that will still continue. I know it's easy to be like, oh, he's struggled in these 2 games, he's going to suck in the NFL. But I think you're dead on with that one point, Bud, where he is pretty much the one-man show in that offense right now. And I think a lot of it, which is the story for every NFL quarterback once they get drafted, is going to depend on the situation he gets put in. Because if Patrick Mahomes doesn't end up in Kansas City with Andy Reid, I don't think he's Patrick Mahomes. I think he's still
Alex Smith.
Yeah, he may be Alex Smith. So it's going to depend where Caleb Williams ends up. It's going to depend where Drake May ends up. It's going to depend where they all end up. Do they get the right coaching? Are they on the right team? Do they get the kind of support they're going to need to flourish at the next level?
And to be clear, I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I'm not saying he's going to fall out of the top 5. I mean, he still might be the number 1 overall pick. I just think there's going to be much more of a debate than most people, like the casuals. Well, he's going to be number 1 overall pick. Tank for Caleb. I think it's going to be much more heated than that. Last one for me. So you guys know what contagion is, right? When there's a whole market that just gets crushed because the real estate market, it didn't matter. Anything that's associated with the real estate market back in 2008 just got crushed. Toll Brothers was the stock. Remember that? There was rumors that they were using Chinese drywall, and it just absolutely crushed them. In fact, like 3 years ago, which is like almost 10, it's more than 10 years removed from the Chinese drywall, we looked at a house in the Toll Brothers neighborhood. My wife's like, ooh, are you sure it's not Chinese drywall? I think Penn State might be Toll Brothers because they just cannot get past this hump. And I don't think it has anything to do with James Franklin. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's playing against teams that are better than him. And I think he needs something to overcome those deficiencies, which primarily would be quarterback or offense or a play caller that can mask any of those issues. So I am selling. Drew Aller he's not ready for prime time. He might be. He just looked completely overwhelmed on a lot of the shorter, easier throws early in the game that might have kept him in better situations. Mike Yurcich did not scheme those guys open. The wide receiver, so I was sitting there watching the wide receivers match up just to see if they're open or anything. On the outside, you have no size mismatch at all that a lot of these guys across college football do. Oli Fashanu, I thought he had a really bad game. I am selling everything associated with Penn State and their offense because it's like Toll Brothers. That Chinese drywall rumor's out there, and until they prove it otherwise, I'm selling Penn State.
Oh, man, you're criticizing Olu Fashanu. Your mentions are going to be a nightmare for the next week or two.
Did they watch the game?
I
mean, I watched him before. It was great because I actually have some great video of him doing some warm-up drills. Like, he looks the part. He is insane. I mean, he looks like a monster out there. And it's not saying he can't be a great player. He did not have a great game against the best talent that he's going to face.
He's an excellent pass blocker. Still has a lot of work to do in the run game.
Danny Gecko, that was fantastic. Excellent stuff.
I got some more things planned down the stretch. Like, I didn't want to use all the clips out there, So we got more coming. Me and Jordan got some things up our sleeves.
Love that. You were there. Any other? But like while I was just sitting there. I was like, man, that's. Oh right, Danny was at the game. So like any other sort of field level or in stadium, at the game, thoughts from being there in person?
Yeah. So I thought. I was sitting there watching with Pate, who's been on his tour. So he's been at all these stadiums. I was like, what do you think? It was probably about halftime. I was like, what do you think of the atmosphere? And I said, how loud is it compared to your other ones? He's like, it's noisy. He's like, but it doesn't come close to Seattle or Knoxville or, some of the other schools he's been to this season. Because I thought it was a little bit quieter. And I was like, well, I was wondering why that is. It was a very nervous energy. Like, there was a very nervous crowd. There wasn't a lot of offensive fireworks, which typically bring more enthusiasm, more excitement. I thought both teams just felt like almost like they were kind of playing not to lose it. The holding call was the play of the game, because if that does go for a scoop and score and Penn State puts that on the board, I think they could have been in serious trouble. Neither quarterback, I thought, played great. I thought they both struggled with very basic, like underneath throws that should have been completions. They just airmailed them or bounced them or, just didn't look good. And Marvin Harrison Jr. was the difference. I know James Franklin, I know you guys talked about this after the game too. I would say Ohio State, they're clearly the better team. They won the game. I would pick them again if they played again. But are they national championship worthy? I don't think they are on the offensive side of the ball. But I still have to remind myself that they didn't have Igbuka, even though he did warm up. I texted you guys. I'm like, he looks fine, but he didn't play. Travion Henderson wasn't out there. Kyle McCord can get better. So, like, without a massive jump in both health and more consistency from Kyle McCord, I don't think Ohio State is a national champion contender. Is that fair? Is that kind of what you guys thought?
Yes.
I mean,
some people – go ahead, Tom.
I think they're a contender in that I don't think they're as good as Michigan. I don't think they're as good as Georgia, but I don't think either Michigan or Georgia are no doubt going to kill everybody they play either. Like, I don't think there's a national title contender out there that doesn't have something of a flaw. Like Michigan, right. we won't know until Michigan actually plays somebody that's close to its caliber. But I think Georgia has shown flaws. But I will say, going back to the atmosphere, I think part of the problem at Ohio Stadium is the distance between the seats and the field, particularly in the end zones, because they're so far away. And I think that kind of impacts the noise.
Like the way instead of it caving in on you, it just kind of spreads out a little bit.
It's the same way at the big house.
Yeah.
Like it's very spread out. So definitely might just acoustically. And
we're bigger people here in the Midwest, so we tend to need more room.
Did those stadiums used to have a track?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they got video of Jesse Owens out there running in that track. That I think impacts it. It also so they had the decimal meter up there, which I don't know how accurate those are, but I mean, it seemed like it was getting louder, and it was like right around 101, 102. And Quinn, our buddy Quinn, who works with Pate, and Pate were there, and they were saying in Seattle it was like 130.
Oh yeah.
So it definitely is noticeable. And I don't want to sound like I'm bashing on Ohio State. I just think there's some things acoustically that help certain stadiums, and they definitely didn't get that benefit.
Because Husky Stadium has the overhangs to
It's on
make sure
top
that
of it.
noise doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.